our life and business and everything that we experience is about to change in the next 2 to 3 years. It's already changing very, very
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
But if people don't wake up and they don't like really understand what this is, um, my and this is not just my fear, this is an industry opinion. People who don't really understand AI in the next 2 to 3 years, they will have to play a huge catch up later. Like the
Mm.
businesses they are going to be affected and all that. And we
Yep.
can go deeper into it, but that's where I'm at right now.
Podcast where we inspire, empower, and encourage you to live your best and audacious life ever. I'm thrilled to have you joining us here today, taking time out of your very busy schedule. So thank you for doing this. And as we explore new possibilities together and embrace that audacious spirit that we all have within each and every single one of us, we're going to explore the rise of artificial intelligence, or AI, in this edition of the Audacious Living Podcast. And when you think of AI, it's much like exploring a vast ocean of possibilities, kind of like navigating through uncharted waters, discovering new islands of opportunities while being mindful of the currents and the conditions and the tides of change. In today's episode, we have the privilege to speak with the brilliant mind behind groundbreaking technologies and global AI thought leadership, Manuj Aggarwal. Manuj is a visionary leader in the field of artificial intelligence with a remarkable track record of creating meaningful, impactful technologies that have changed the lives of so many people. Manuj's journey is a powerful testament of the transformative power of embracing innovation and pushing boundaries to achieve greatness. So now that we're all set, here's my conversation with Manuj. Enjoy. Hey, Manuj, thank you for being here with me on the Audacious Living Podcast. It's a pleasure to hang out with you like this, man.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
Yeah, it's great. You know, I was saying before I press record how appreciative I am to have the opportunity to engage in these kinds of conversations and to share and reflect and learn and all that good stuff. So I want to extend my thanks and give our audience an opportunity to learn a little bit about you and your story, because it certainly was it's a powerful with humbling beginnings to where you're at now. So maybe as a starting point, I can sort of open it up and give you an opportunity to tell our audience about you and sort of where you're at now.
Where am I? Well, basically, my journey has been a journey of working with technology and improving lives for millions of people, building technology for healthcare, for education, for real estate industry, many different industries, many startups, many large companies. And now I'm one of the global thought leaders in artificial intelligence. I have 4 patents in artificial intelligence. So we help businesses and companies who are trying to make sense of what this whole AI thing is all about, and how to benefit from it, because there are tremendous benefits, and there's a lot of misinformation, unfortunately, about what this technology is. So the idea is that to share the right information with the people who need it the most,
Okay.
because it's such a foundational technology for our world that our life and business and everything that we experience is about to change in the next 2 to 3 years. It's already changing very, very fast.
Yeah.
But if people don't wake up and they don't like really understand what this is, my and this is not just my fear, this is an industry opinion. People who don't really understand AI in the next 2 to 3 years, they will have to play a huge catch up later. Like the businesses they are going to be affected and all that. And we can go deeper into it, but that's where I'm at right now.
And just so from the point of understanding, so when you talk about those who need to understand AI, is understanding how it can use it to benefit them. Is that what you mean?
Correct. Yeah, how it can be used to benefit them, how it can be used to solve their problems, because in everyday life, in business, we are always trying to achieve something, and generally there are some problems that we want to solve. Some people don't know how to market themselves. Some people don't know how to
Right.
sell. Some people don't know how to run operations. Some people don't know much about finance.
Hmm.
All these problems are typical problems that people face, and with AI, most of these problems can be solved very, very easily. And so
Right.
that's the impact that it has on people's lives and businesses, because
Gotcha.
now you can imagine, like, you're almost able to hire highly qualified people who have PhD in multiple topics. Like, they have a PhD in sales, they have a PhD in marketing, PhD in
Right.
operations, and you are able to, like, get these solutions very quickly.
Mm. So I need to go back and understand, Manuj, how one becomes a global thought leader in AI. It's such a new technology. Like, how did you get there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of people don't realize AI is not something new. It has been around since the 60s, right?
Hmm.
So I have been involved in AI since 2000, almost 2005, 2006. So I've been working in this field for a long time, and you will see that, any large corporation, you probably buy from Amazon, you probably,
Yeah.
use Facebook, this Zoom meeting we are recording, they're all a product of AI. I mean, without AI, Amazon cannot deliver the package next day or the same day. uh, Without AI, uh, this video recording is not possible in high definition and real time. It's not
Right.
possible. So
Right.
everything is being controlled by AI. If you take out your device of your pocket, like, everything on that device is controlled by AI already. So regarding being a global thought leader, I think a couple of factors. So first, I want to make sure that people understand I'm not here just, like, working with AI for last 6 months. I've been in this field for, a couple of decades now. And the second thing is, what have you what have you done in your life? Like, for me, like, my software that I have been part of, I you know the technology that we have built, is that it has impacted more than 10 million lives already.
Gotcha.
um, and it has generated like hundreds of millions in revenue, right? So and then the last part is global thought leader, is like, I think my thoughts are normal thoughts in my head, but when I exchange my thoughts with other thought leaders, it resonates with them. So I think this whole concept of global thought leader, in my opinion, is, if you can uh, have a decent conversation with other thought leaders
Mhm.
and they find your ideas good, then you automatically become a thought leader, because other thought leaders are saying that, right? So
Gotcha.
I don't think I can call myself thought leader unless I get the validation from
From
people I
others.
respect, and they say it.
Got you. Well, you clearly gotten that respect, which I think is a good thing because you now are able to use your knowledge and to be able to help educate others. I need to go back. I mean, if you're saying AI has been around since the '60s, and obviously over time, there's advancements and new technologies, and it's gotten better. What was it doing for us in the '60s that maybe we weren't aware about?
Not much. See, what has happened is the concepts, human mind has always been, I mean, this is not even since the 60s. Since the beginning of time, we have been thinking, what is life? What is consciousness?
Right.
How does our mind think?
Gotcha.
And as computers started to come online, I mean, a computer is basically a replication of a human mind at a basic level,
Sure.
right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, but the problem is, in the 60s and even until up to the year 2000, we did not have enough data being produced and captured in the world to understand how the world works. So what do I mean by that? AI is nothing else but a very, very highly tuned mechanism to process large amount of data, like humongous amount of data, and
Yep.
then find little patterns in that data which tell us, okay, this is how the weather is going to be in the next 14 days. This is
Right.
how, I can cure the disease. And a human mind is not capable of, you know, uh, understanding more than 10 to 15 data points in any given situation. You
Yes.
know, um, but when machines come in, so I'll give you an example to simplify it, to understand, to make it very
Mhm.
easy to for people to understand.
Yep.
So let's say if you touch a hot stove,
Yep.
you will only need to touch it once to for your mind to understand, okay, don't do it again.
Yes.
Right? So that is one data point your mind is learning and becoming smarter. But now let's say you are in the middle of Antarctica and you have heat resistant gloves and it's really, really cold. All I mean, it's negative minus 50, minus 50 degrees centigrade temperature outside, very cold. And now you touch the hot stove, it'll actually feel pleasant to you, right?
Gotcha.
Now your mind has learned, okay, there are four variables in this situation. And if those variables are okay, then I can touch the stove.
Gotcha.
But now imagine you are predicting the weather. There are like millions and millions of parameters, variables in it, right? The earth movement, sun movement, moon's movement, the wave patterns of the seas, all so much, right? You cannot, your mind is not able to like figure out, okay, how can I predict weather with this?
Right.
So what the machine can do, it can take millions and millions of data points and then figure out, okay, based on the patterns I recognize, this is what the weather is going to be, right?
Right.
Now, since the year 2000, our world has become more and more digital.
Hmm.
So we are producing more and more data. Like we even have our watches now producing data, right?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Our fridges are producing data. Our toasters are becoming smart toasters. So that is one thing that has happened. We are taking more and more data. Second thing is the computation power needed to process all this has also increased. In the 60s, we used to use punch cards, punch them on a physical
Yep.
card and then
Yep.
feed it into the computer. It
Yep.
was very, very basic. It could not process a lot of data. So the artificial intelligence, when I say it has been around since 60, it was very dumb, you know.
Gotcha.
And even
Gotcha.
today, it's not very smart because it can do one thing very, very smartly.
Right.
Uh,
Right. Right.
Not a lot of things, like a human. So to bring it all back, now we have a lot of computing power, we have a lot of data,
Yep.
and we have a lot of algorithms
Yes.
that can understand the data, and we have a worldwide global connectivity,
Yes.
right? So now I can sit here in Vancouver and I can like make observations, send my data to a university in Spain. They can analyze it. All these things are possible now. So AI as a technology, yes, it has been around, but the environment to nourish it, to make it more stronger,
Also
now
flourish.
it has become really possible, right?
Yes, right. So and the things around it, so connectivity, I think, is a beautiful example of that. That allows it to flourish and become more impactful, stronger, and do more and be more useful.
Exactly.
So that makes total sense to me, and I'm glad you broke that down for me. Um, you know this as well as I do, that there's pros and cons to everything. There's two sides of the fence. There's two opinions, and there's a piece around the threatening of our humanity. I've heard that an awful lot, and what AI will do, and how it's bad in that regard. Maybe people have seen too many Terminator movies and think that it's going to take over the world. I wonder if you can sort of speak to the issue of humanity, and is that a real concern?
See, a lot of people. Okay, so here is what I'll say to you. Technology itself is never dangerous.
Okay,
It's the human that uses the technology that is always dangerous.
right.
Okay, so if you drive a car, you can choose to drive the car and go to the grocery store, get your groceries, drop your kids at school, or you can take the car and run over somebody and kill them. So, and this is true for any technology,
Yep.
not just AI. uh, and the other thing is that a lot of people, so I want to first discuss one misconception, that AI is going to take over the world. Now, if we look at any war, any dispute among humans, it's not because somebody is inherently evil, but they experience something in the past that suppressed their, emotions, their ability to flourish in the world, their ability to live their full life. And especially when it happened generation after generation, all these emotions got suppressed,
Right.
like jealousy and insecurity. And one day it comes out in a big dispute, in a war or something like that, right?
Yep.
Now take the same scenario and apply it to AI will need to be suppressed and emotionally sort of uh, derived of these things for it to say, okay, you know what, I'm going to wake up one day and I'm going to get rid of humans. So it's very absurd when you talk about it like that.
Right.
Somebody will need to like create an algorithm to make AI jealous and think like that. It's not possible. Now somebody who has all these problems, like a human being, can use AI to create harmful things, no doubt.
Sure.
But we also, as I said earlier, every technology is like that. So we also need to understand that if evil was prevalent in this world, then we will not be even able to come out of the caves as a caveman if
Gotcha.
evil was prevalent, right? So we have to know that 95% of what this world is good intentions, progress, prosperity, and 5% is evil,
Right.
no doubt. But we have to account for that 95% of good, which counters the evil, 5% evil. And that is the only reason why we are here as a species, right?
Well, and I so and I appreciate that perspective, because when you look at on a grand scale and across the board, I'm sure there's lots and lots and lots of wonderful examples of the things that are doing the AI is doing to change it. I just heard a story the other day. There was there's an artist, a rapper who I grew up listening to as a kid, and he got into a terrible car accident, and basically he lost his voice, and his voice was gone. um and now what he's using AI is able to recreate his voice the way he used to sound before the accident, and now he's putting out new music.
Yeah.
And so you hear these things, and the way you're smiling is the same way I smiled when I first heard it, because like, oh my gosh, like look what it is doing. And
Yeah.
it was funny because as I was watching the interview, someone had said, wow, but couldn't this be dangerous? Like if we're now recreating people's voices, couldn't this be dangerous? And the person gave very similar response to, as you said, yeah, that's possible, but in this situation, this scenario, how could anyone find any fault with it?
Yeah.
It's the right thing to do, right? And so I just offer that perspective because of the fact that yes, there's inherently bad things that can happen, but there's a whole lot of good that can take place too.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's powerful, powerful. um the piece around the human element, I still think is an important conversation to have, because I can use AI to maybe write my copy, or create documents, or generate some piece of material for me. But I think the piece that will always be lacking is the ability for me to connect with another human being, person to person. Is that fair to say?
Uh, it is actually not going to be lacking. In fact, I think it will become even more important because our world, the capitalist societies in specific, they are based on intellectual our intellectual abilities. Like whoever can solve big problems, they
Mm-hmm.
get the big bucks, right?
Gotcha.
Now, so take this in perspective. Like Einstein had an IQ of about 170.
Okay.
Machines today have an IQ of over 1,000. So there is no way you can compete on the intellectual intellectual value you bring to the table.
Right.
And so that human connection, that ability to empathize with other people, it'll actually become even more important and valuable actually as automation and AI, becomes entrenched in every aspect of our life.
Right.
We are already seeing that, like, you know, um, I don't, it sounds like you have some kids, but in general, we talk, as parents, like I'm a parent and I hear this
Mm-hmm.
everywhere. These days kids don't have motivation, they don't have creativity and these kind of things, right? And that is the actual value of a human being. If you don't have motivation, what are you going to do with all this intelligence? If you
Right.
don't have creativity, what are you going to do, right? So to answer your question, in fact, these kind of things will become even more important. And that is what my passion is, to use technologies like AI to not write content faster or create new things faster, but how do I transform the human being into a better human being? And let's say, and in a business, it has huge implications, right? Like, if you imagine, like, a business is only as good as their the bottom-most underperformers, not
Right.
the top performers. It's the bottom-most underperformers. And imagine if you can take 20% of the underperformers, use technologies like AI and turn them into top performers. how
Wow.
will that how will that change not just one company, but
The whole
communities,
landscape.
the nations?
It would, and I mean, certainly, I could see from a competitive standpoint, right? It just and at the end of the day, whether we agree with it or not, competition makes us better,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And
Yes, yes.
so now, AI is being brought into play, and it's forcing me now to, okay, I've got to do more.
Yeah,
I've got to produce. And again, you mentioned being capitalist society, and I agree with you, and I understand that's how it's structured. We didn't make it. That's
yeah,
just the way
exactly.
it is, right? But it does make you better, and I think that's a really, really good point.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Man. So if would that be sort of one of the ways, AI can sort of change the world for the better? Is that one of the things?
It will change the world in so many ways that I cannot even imagine. I'll give you a few examples that will
Okay,
sort of, give you a perspective, right?
sure.
So, uh, I believe, and this is already happening, by the way, I believe in 10 to 15 years, driving on streets by humans will be illegal.
And
Okay.
I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna let you finish that one. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean
So
to jump.
so you're asking me how is it going to change the world? But imagine that world. But it makes total sense, right? Humans are not good drivers. Um, and in San Francisco, by the way, there is a street or a bunch of streets which have now today, right now, have
Hmm.
been dedicated to self-driving cars.
Wow.
There's no driver on that street.
Wow.
Okay. I believe in the next 10 years, you will see public companies listed on stock exchanges with one employee.
Hmm.
Okay. Because it'll be only the CEO that's needed. Everything else is done by AI.
Hmm.
So, I mean, some people may find it alarming. Some
Yep.
people may not
Yep.
like it,
Yep.
but that's the direction the world is going in. And you can see that progression continues as technology is developing,
Yep.
with the internet, with the smartphone. All these technologies are making us more productive
Yep.
and making us more self uh, reliant on ourselves to do what we want to do in the world.
Got you. Got you. Fascinating. It truly is fascinating. The aspect around um, uh, uh, less less people needed to do jobs. That's alarming. That will get people's attention. But right off the top, you talked about the fact that people need to kind of get on board or be left behind, right? That one of the ways they'd be left behind?
Exactly, because you see, what is going to happen is the mundane tasks that are repetitive they are going to be automated, right? Those jobs are going to be automated. And so there's going to be job displacement. um, and even business owners need to think about it, how to adopt technology, because this is a big barrier for a lot of businesses, that they don't want to
Yeah.
let go of their employees,
Right.
but yet they want to modernize their systems. So the idea is to understand how to create synergies between humans and AI, and not
Right.
just blindly replace humans with automation. Although there is going to be that as well. Like, there's a lot of like cutthroat industries where they are just going to slash workforce.
Sure.
But the
Sure.
point is that this phenomena is not new. Like when the car was invented, there was a huge horse cart industry, and they said, what are we going to do with all these people who are maintaining the horses and cleaning the streets of
Yes.
the
Yes.
horse dump, and like
Yes.
doing all
Yes.
these things? But
Yes.
the point is, if people realize that, okay, if I upskill, I can make double, triple, quadruple of what I'm making in the horse cart industry, they flourished. But people who said, no, I'm going to stick to my horse carts, they did not make it, right?
Right. So it's really about being mindful, or at least having an idea of where the future state will end up,
Exactly.
and kind of being ready and prepared for that. Because that's
Yeah,
really,
I'll give you another
yeah,
example that
yeah.
that'll put it in perspective, right? So in 1995, I logged on to the internet for the first time in my
Okay.
life.
Okay.
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 And in 1998, I was applying for a junior entry level position. In 3 years, going from logging onto the internet for the first time, and in 1998, if I did not have an email address, I could not apply for an entry level job.
Wow.
Okay. And this is India. This is not like back then it was still a developing country. In many ways, it is still a developing country. This happened in a developing country in 3 years. So, so, so when I say things are going to change fast, like very, very fast.
It's funny. As you said, applying for a job. I remember a story that I used to share. I had, once upon a time, I applied for this job, and I went to their website, and they said, send in your resume to this fax number. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
because right. So I sent in my resume to this fax number, and they called me in and said, Mr. Stevenson, we'd like to meet with you. No problem. And I sat down this interview, and as we started to talk and about the job, and I'm being interviewed, I'm asking the questions, they started to ask me about questions that, because my resume had gotten mixed up with someone else's when it got faxed in. So they started to ask me questions about things that weren't on my resume, it was on someone else's.
Okay.
And it was, in the end, it was a comical story, but I always shared that story. Go, oh, I remember that time. And I found that over time, when I started to share that story, people were like, what's a fax machine?
Yeah.
Because they had no so the story itself wasn't as effective because they didn't know what a machine was, right? But it's just to show you the progression that, and so the logic is, yep, once upon a time, and they had a website, and I went there to get a number, print my resume, to walk over to a fax machine and key that number in, and a piece of paper came out on the other side.
Yeah.
But they had a website, didn't they? Why do that? So it just shows you that the advancements of things that take place over time, that, it as you said, change is coming.
Yeah.
Right? So get ready.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fax machine, man.
Yeah.
Actually, I know someone still has one, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, there are some government, especially government departments, they have it.
That's quite funny. So yeah, no, listen, I think there's lots to be excited about. What I'm curious about, Manuj, and maybe how do you use AI in your own life as a thought leader that promotes it, encourages it, educates people? How does it help you in your own life?
See, my passion is always about, okay, so there are some fundamental things I believe. The most important asset that we have is time. Okay. So even if you have like $1 billion, you cannot get more time. And the other thing is, the true wealth is human relationships, our well-being, not just financial, but mental and physical. So my passion is to use technology to help foster all these things. Get more time back. That's easy. You can you can connect the dots easily. Like, I look at every opportunity to automate things in my life and in my business. And that's what we do for other businesses as well. Like, imagine if you get 50% of your time in your work week, like next week, like how will that change your life, right? And you do whatever you want with it because all other things have been taken care of. It's not like
Yes.
you drop the ball on those things, but everything has been taken care of. So now you can be, spending time with your friends or expanding your business, whatever. And then the second thing is, like, I'm really passionate about this changing the person from within. I've
Mm.
had a lot of ups and downs in my life, and meditation and these practices have helped me. So I use AI to, like, create meditative effects for people. Like, as I said, I believe the next evolutionary cycle, or the next sort of the big thing, is
Yeah.
going to be creating human emotions, like motivation, creativity, and these type of things. So again, it is linked to how can we transform people, especially people who are underdogs, who have some
Yes.
disadvantage in society, who are considered underperformers, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
If we can use AI to transform them and elevate them to top performers, that's what I focus on.
Wow. And that's beautiful. I think the idea of, first off, I love the idea of getting time back, right? We always can use more time in our lives,
Exactly.
which is a beautiful thing. And what you do with it is totally up to you, but to get time back is a wonderful thing. The idea of creating human emotions, that's fascinating. But I can see where it can be very, very useful and helpful.
Human emotion is like, I want to clarify it, like, it's transformation, it's like elevation of the human being using technologies.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, yeah, no, I could see, imagine helping people get to a state of motivation,
Yeah.
like at any time. That's pretty much
Exactly.
what we're talking,
Exactly.
right? To get
Exactly.
there, and so things like that. I think again, those are powerful impacts. Yeah, again, there's pros and cons. Everything we sort of talked about that, and we can go on. There'll always be that side of the fence,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
Yeah. Yeah.
there'll always be people who want their records and not like CDs.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
we've moved past
Exactly.
CDs and
Exactly.
MP3s, but they still want their records because they think it sounds crisp and clear and better. That's fine. You're always going
Yeah.
to have that, but the bar still moves along, right?
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
doesn't stop. And again, to your point earlier, you catch up or get left behind,
Exactly.
unfortunately.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
so this has been awesome. The last thing I want to ask about, like, because now it's like anything is possible if you really think about it. Like anything that we can possibly conceive, we can make a reality. Even our dreams, like,
Exactly. Exactly.
like our dreams can happen. So the idea of dreaming your wildest dream, um to make that a reality, is that I know you agree with it, but I was gonna ask, is that something you see as a possibility, like my wildest dream can
Absolutely.
happen through life?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, see, AI, see, the thing is that, let's say if you want to do something big with your life,
Yeah.
we even as a young person, old person, doesn't matter, we always start to think, okay, how I'm going to do the next step.
Yes.
Okay, what do I do next? What do I do next? Who do I talk to? How do I create this legal contract? How do I create this business plan? How do I, like, all these things, right? Like, and then we say, I don't know how to do it. Okay, I give up. But now imagine you can just go to AI and say, hey, I've gotten this idea, like, I'm going to change the world with this product, like, figure it out for me, like how I can do it. And it'll give you, like, really meaningful information, right?
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. It just I mean, look, 20 years ago, if I said to someone, hey, I can go to Google in my phone and ask a question and get the answer right away, they would have been mind blown, as I am now, as you describe the future of AI. But It is a reality. Clearly, it's in front of us, and again, get on board or get left behind, so to speak.
Exactly.
So, Manuj, thank you for the time today. This has been so awesome. I appreciate the education and the insights into AI. It's a conversation that will be going on for quite some time, no doubt about that. So again, I appreciate you and your education, if you will. For our listeners who want to learn more about it, or more about you or the work that you do, where could we send them?
You can go to my website, manujaggarwal.com, or connect with me on LinkedIn. I just want to say this is one of the biggest wealth generation opportunities for people, especially for people who say, oh, I missed the internet revolution. Oh, I missed the smartphone revolution. And this one is 10 times bigger than both of them combined. Wow. So imagine that. I'll give you one statistics. The CEO of IBM has said that AI is going to add about $10 trillion, 10 trillion to the world economy by 2030. Okay, so that is $10,000 billion.
Right.
In the next 7 years.
Right.
So,
and what's really interesting about that is when you get into general conversations about AI with people, the first thing you talk about is loss of jobs.
Yeah.
But to generate that kind of wealth, you will need people to be able to.
Absolutely. You will need people. You will need people who can really, get over the fear and embrace it. And then, as I said earlier, you will need people who can think creatively to harness this power, right? And the other thing is, you already see the trend. Entrepreneurship is going to become a real career choice, because now you're not bound by any constraints. So if you have good ideas, AI is your employee, and you can change the world with that.
An employee that's never late and never talks back. Exactly. And just does the job. I love it.
Exactly.
Manuj, thank you so much for this. Again, delightful conversation, very insightful, and I appreciate you taking the time. So thank you for doing this.
Absolutely.
Back, we are here on the podcast, and much thanks and appreciation goes out to Manuj for being here and sharing his perspective on AI and the technologies and the way it can help people with us. As Manuj shared, the rapid advances of AI are reshaping the world as we know it, offering endless opportunities for growth and transformation. Just like AI can automate tasks and streamline processes, we each have the power to automate success in our lives by embracing audacious dreams and taking bold actions. Let this conversation with Manuj inspire you to harness the power of innovation and create your own path to greatness. So great lessons to be taken from that, and I hope you really take note of all that. Remember, the key to living an audacious life is to dare greatly, dream boldly, and take action. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.